Are you sick and tired of the same old Commander product? Wish you could build a Commander deck of your own? Well, I've been sent this box of Avatar Play Boosters, and I asked you, my subscribers, what I should do with it. And you said you'd like to see me try and build a Commander deck with just the packs from this box. So let's see if we can do it. Let's crack some packs. Alrighty, well first up I've got to give a huge thank you to JK Entertainment. They're a new store on the scene that's selling Magic, Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh!, all of the major TCGs at a great price, and they're actually the ones who sent me this box. I'll put a link in the description to their store, but I'm not sponsored, they're just a great bunch of people that I wanted to shout out. Anyway, as I mentioned, I wasn't really sure what to do with this box, and I asked you, my subscribers, what you would like to see me do with it, and you decided that you wanted to see me unbox it and tried to put together a Commander deck from just what's inside. So now is probably a good time to say that if you want to decide what kind of content I make here on the channel, why don't you hit subscribe and keep an eye out for the community posts and the sort. So the first step to this challenge is figuring out who we want our Commander to even be. That's why as we're unboxing, I'm highlighting the cards that are legends. Now originally, while I was unboxing, I thought it would be worth showcasing every unique legend, but then I realized afterwards that we're not going to have enough cards to build a mono-colored Commander deck, so that's why on the side here we've got every legend that is 2 or more colors from this Avatar Play Booster box. And speaking of Avatar, while we're here, how are you all finding it? How are you finding the set? I'm recording this a day or two after the World Championships, where Is It Lessons took first place, and second, I guess, as it was a mirror match. But I do think it's cool to see so many new cards from the latest set making an appearance, and honestly it was hilarious that Gran was in both final lists, as well as a whole load of other lists from the event. You go get it, Grandma, show them how it's done. I've really enjoyed the Avatar set. Obviously, I've made 3 videos for the channel here based around some of the legends. We've had Wan Shi-Tong from the Jumpstart boosters, Azula and Iroh from the main set, and I suppose this will also be a video based on one of the Avatar legends too, we just don't know which one yet. I've been genuinely so impressed with the way these legends have been designed, especially after the Spider-Man debacle, and as someone who is a huge fan of Avatar and grew up with it, as I'm sure many of you did too, it did really feel like it hit the mark. But on the topic of Commander decks and building them, if you would like the chance to own this deck that I'm going to build in a minute for yourself, I'm actually going to be giving it away. Simply leave a comment down below with your favourite Magic the Gathering Avatar moment so far and you'll be entered into the draw. I'd love to hear about your pre-release experiences, best new Commander decks from the set, or a wild misplay that you made by not understanding how airbending works. But speaking of pre-release, I was cautious of the 4 bending styles as mechanics to begin with though, as it did feel like it was maybe a bit too complex. But at pre-release it did seem like a lot of new players caught onto the mechanics quite quickly, and they do make a lot of flavorful sense, so I am impressed with how they did it, to be honest. The only criticism I have is I'm really not a fan of these one-off mechanics that can't be returned to. These mechanics that we've made for Avatar are all pretty great, but it's a shame that we can't really have them again without a return to the world of Avatar. But then again, with both Korra and Seven Havens on the way, maybe you will have the opportunity to see these again for what will effectively be a 3-set block, but just split up across many years. In fact, I guess with the upcoming Hobbit set, we'll actually have our first Universes Beyond 2-set block, as they'll definitely bring back the Ring Tempts You and other similar cards, I imagine. What's everyone's bet though that the One Ring will get a reprint? Obviously they won't do the whole 1 of 1 situation again, but I think we might get a reprint of the iconic card anyway. Well, we're already seeing some great legends crop up as a potential for our Commander, so I think for now, I'll just leave this video rolling, let you see what I pull, and I'll join you again after we've cracked these packs for some deck building. Right, that's every card cracked. Let's see what we're working with. The first step is to remove all of the duplicates. Because of Commander's singleton rule, I can't use duplicates anyway, so we might as well get rid of them from the equation. Then I separated each card into piles for their colours. I thought that it was cute that we were able to get an uncommon legend in each colour to helm each pile here. Anyway, that leaves us with 36 white cards, 39 blue, 34 black, 34 red, and 34 green. Quite an even spread, really. Let's assume we're going to have between 35 and 38 lands. Knowing the colour spread we just talked about, if we were to go for a 2-colour commander, we'd probably have to use every single card in those 2 colour piles to even build a deck, and it's probably not going to be particularly synergistic. So we're looking at a 3-colour commander. That gave me 4 options: Katara the Fearless, Firelord Zuko, Firelord Azula, and Sokka Tenacious Tactician. I've already made a video about Firelord Azula for the channel, so I was happy to drop that one from the list of options. Katara the Fearless would certainly be interesting. Her ability to double up any ally's effect is strong, but having looked through the cards that I cracked, you'd need ally cards from Zendikar instead. I'm surprised they didn't reprint a bunch of those in the bonus sheet, to be honest. Can you imagine putting a Hagra Diabolist in Sealed? Unfortunately, in the box I had, there just weren't enough allies to build around. Firelord Zuko is somewhat similar. As he's designed around Exile, you'd need to take advantage of plenty of airbending effects from the set to trigger him, but the quantity of purely airbending cards just wasn't there for me. Plus, I think he'd be a lot more powerful with cards from outside the Avatar set as well. That left me with just one option left: Sokka Tenacious Tactician. Let's have a look at him. Sokka is a 3/3 human warrior ally for 1 and Jeskai, with both menace and prowess that reads, other allies you control have menace and prowess, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, make a 1/1 white ally creature token. For what we're looking to do with our random bulk of Avatar cards, this effect is perfect. The sheer number of non-creature spells we cracked here helps hugely, and Sokka's ability is just generic enough to mean that we don't have to look elsewhere. The game plan is simple. We'll go wide by casting a whole load of non-creature spells, making a whole load of ally tokens, and swinging for the win. Let's have a look at the deck. Alright, so let's start by looking at some of our non-creature synergy pieces in the deck. Because Sokka really wants us casting spells, he triggers whenever we cast a non-creature spell, he's got prowess, and he gives all of our other creatures prowess too. Casting non-creature spells is basically the core of what we want this deck to do. So let's see what else we've got that benefits from that game plan. First up is Porcupine. This is the most straightforward version of this effect. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets a +1/+1 counter. It's nothing fancy, but it does get very big very quickly. Going a little bit more wacky, we've got the Mechanist. Every single time we cast a non-creature spell, we'll make a clue token, which will eventually turn into card draw. And if we want, we can tap the Mechanist to turn those clues into artifact creatures. So this one adds a lot of flexibility and value. We even have a second Sokka, Bold Boomeranger. When he enters, we can rummage a bit, discarding and drawing, but more importantly, whenever we cast an artifact or lesson, he'll get a +1/+1 counter. He's a little bit like the Porcupine, just with a slightly narrower trigger. Dragonfly Swarm is actually our first creature that doesn't exactly trigger off casting a non-creature spell. Instead, its power is equal to the number of non-creature spells in our graveyard. When it dies, if there's a lesson down there, which there definitely will be, we'll draw a card. Plus, it's also just a flying, warded threat, so once we fill our graveyard a bit, it becomes a real evasive beater. But now we'll just look at cards that are just plain good when you're slinging spells. May Jaded Edge is basically here just because she has prowess. She isn't an ally, so she doesn't get the bonus prowess from Sokka, but she does still just benefit from us casting spells. Tylee is similar, she's not an ally either, but she does have prowess. Master Paku is an ally though, and this is where it gets fun, because his prowess stacks with the prowess Sokka gives him, so he actually gets 2 prowess triggers per spell. That gets out of hand fast, and when he attacks, a player mills equal to the number of lessons in our graveyard. That's not going to be a win con, but it definitely pressures opponents' libraries while swinging with a huge body. Tylee Chi Blocker though is another great one. She is an ally, she has flash, she has prowess, so once again double prowess thanks to Sokka. And when she enters, she taps down a creature and keeps it tapped as long as she stays on the battlefield. She's a really strong control piece in this deck. Iguana Parrot is still on the prowess train. It's just a flying vigilance 2/2 with prowess that wants to smack people when we cast spells. Incredibly simple, but very effective. Moving away from prowess now, Professor Zai, Anthropologist, is another rummager, and one that we can pay 1 with, sacrifice, and return an instant or sorcery from our graveyard to our hand, so really good for recursion. Serpent of the Path is just a massive creature that becomes cheaper for every non-creature in our graveyard. And if we have 3 or more lessons in there, we can cast it as if it had flash. But to be honest, it's mostly just a big 6/5 that benefits from what our deck will naturally be doing. Gran, and shout out to her and her World Championship appearance once again, is amazing. Once she becomes tapped, we draw a card, discard a card, and once we have 3 or more lessons in our graveyard, all of our non-creature spells cost 1 less. Finally, we've got Zhong the Deserter. At first glance, he might not look like he fits the plan, but that firebending ability is excellent for giving us that extra bit of mana during combat, so we can fire off even more spells. But the Exhaust ability is the real prize. Pay 3, put a +1/+1 counter on him, and the next lesson we cast actually gets copied, and we have so many lessons worth copying that he's actually one of the strongest synergy pieces in the deck. So we've got all of those non-creature spells firing, and we've got plenty of synergy pieces to reward us for casting them. The next step is to look at supporting those ally tokens that we're making. Remember, we're going for a go-wide strategy, so let's look at the pieces that support that part of the game plan. We're starting things off with Gather the White Lotus. This creates a 1/1 white ally for each planes we control, and then we get to scry 2. Just a simple, effective way to flood the board with even more bodies. Speaking of mass production, United Front is absolutely fantastic, and I've got this really beautiful copy here. It creates X 1/1 white ally tokens, and then puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control. Honestly, even if we cast this for X equals 0 and just pay the 2 white mana, we still put a +1/+1 counter on the entire team, trigger prowess, and make another ally from soccer, so it's extremely strong in this deck. The Cave of Two Lovers is an interesting saga. Chapter 1 gives us 2 ally tokens, Chapter 2 fixes our mana by finding a mountain, and Chapter 3 earthbends to give us another creature. Mostly though, it's another non-creature spell that produces multiple allies and smooths out our mana. It's good value all around. But now let's have a look at what these creatures are actually doing. Wandering Musicians is a surprising but honestly a potential game winner here. When it attacks, all of our creatures get +1/+0, and with how wide we're going, that's a huge burst of damage. This unassuming little bard might end up being the finisher. Suki Courageous Rescuer is another great Anthem effect. She gives all of our other creatures +1/+0, and whenever a permanent we control leaves the battlefield during our turn, she makes an ally. Usually that'll be because something died, but we can also airbend our own stuff if we need to. She fits perfectly into the plan. Now, how to start a riot? This is where we start seriously thinking about winning the game. It gives 1 creature menace, but more importantly, it gives everything else we control +2/+0, a massive power boost across a wide board. Aang Swift Savior is a really nice disruption piece with flash and flying, letting us airbend something on the way in, but the real prize is actually on the flip side. Aang and La Ocean's Fury. When he attacks, we put a +1/+1 counter on each tapped creature we control, and if we're attacking with a huge team, which we almost always will be, that's a permanent board-wide buff every single combat. It is extremely strong once we can flip him. Moving away from these stat boosts, Waterbender Ascension gives us a Coastal Piracy adjacent effect. Whenever a creature we control deals combat damage to a player, we get a quest counter, and once we have 4 or more, we draw a card each combat. We can also waterbend to make a creature unblockable, which helps load those quest counters quickly. It's a really solid draw engine. Soccer Lateral Strategist also gives us another way to draw cards with our go wide plan, or at least go too wide. Yeah, as long as he and one other creature attack, we draw a card. It's simple, reliable value. Sun Warriors is our massive big mana payoff. It has Firebending X, where X is the number of creatures we control, and spoiler, that's going to be a lot. So this can make a ridiculous amount of mana, which we can then pour right back into it, making even more white ally tokens. It scales beautifully with what the deck is doing. And finally, Team Avatar. At first glance, this might look counterintuitive, because it cares about attacking alone, but the buff it gives is +X/+X, where X is the number of creatures we control. So if we need to push through one huge threat, or take out a key player, this gets the job done, and if we don't need that buff, we can just discard it to deal massive damage equal to our creature count to a target creature. Either way, it's a massive payoff just for going wide. Importantly, all the tokens that we're making are allies, so you'd probably expect some really good ally synergy here, right? Well, hilariously, out of the entire box, I only crapped 2 pieces of ally synergy, and rather than cutting away, I'm just going to show you the video here. It's Avatar Enthusiasts and Wartime Protesters. Both of them give +1/+1 counters, and the Protesters also give haste. Hilarious stuff that is all we got. Anyway, we've made all of these ally tokens, we've got all these creatures. How are we going to go about protecting them? Let's have a look at our protection and removal package. I wanted to open strong, so we're beginning with a board wipe, because you've got to have at least one in every commander deck, right? Destined Confrontation is what we've got to work with here. Each player chooses creatures you control with power 4 or less and keeps those, and everything else gets sacrificed. In our case, that basically means soccer and an ally token, as it triggers soccer and prowess. Look, it's not perfect, but board wipes are hard to come by in this pool, so this is the one we're running with. Next up, we've got Airbender's Reversal, a clean destroy an attacking creature kind of effect. It's great for removing a problem for a turn, and then we've got the same idea with Sandbender's Storm. This hits a creature with power 4 or greater, so it takes care of the big threats that we'd otherwise struggle with. Airbending Lesson is just a really nice temporary removal spell, and it cantrips, which I always love, and then Lost Days lets us throw something on the top or bottom of an opponent's library. They'll probably always choose top, but either way it's out of the way for a turn, and that's good enough for me. Zuko's Exile, yet this is very overcosted, 5 is a lot, but it does exile basically anything, and we don't have a path to exile or anything else to run with, so it's in. Release to Memory was a really great pull. It's our graveyard hate, so if we end up against any graveyard decks, we're ready, plus we get a load of spirit tokens for exiling their stuff, which is really nice value. Now we'll move on to deal with the problem without killing the problem territory. Honest Work turns an opposing creature into a harmless 1/1 merchant, and Path to Redemption is similar. The creature can't attack or block, it's kind of gone, but not gone. Looking at our counter spells next, we've got Hokka's Saiku, which counters a spell, draws a card, and untaps a land. It's an amazing tempo spell, and Idle Quencher is basically Quench, but on a lesson. Now we've got removal that doesn't outright destroy things, but does deal damage. Boomy Bash deals damage equal to the number of lands we control, which won't hit everything, but will take out some mid-sized creatures, I hope. Firebending Lesson gives us 2 damage, or 5 if we kick it. And Lightning Strike just straight up deals 3, nice and simple. Iroh's Demonstration spreads the damage across the board, or deals 4 to a single target, and Combustion Technique deals 2, plus the number of lessons in our graveyard. Searing Blood was another great pickup, 2 damage to a creature, and if it dies this turn, 3 to that creature's controller. Perfect for pinging away a small threat and then getting some bonus damage in. Now here's one I always love to see, it's Price of Freedom, that's Artifact Destruction, or my favourite Land Destruction to deal with a pesky Nykthos or something, plus you get to draw a card, it's perfect. Earth Kingdom Jailer is our first actual creature that removes something, functioning basically as an Oblivion Ring on legs. We've also got Watery Grasp, which is a bit like Honest Work from earlier, and Crashing Wave also taps things down. Honestly, we've got so many allies that we should be able to waterbend this for a pretty high cost, meaning that we can tab a whole bunch of creatures and stun a few of them too. And then finally we've got Earth Kingdom Protectors, which gives an ally indestructible, probably soccer, until end of turn. It's more protection than removal, but it is definitely worth a slot. Alright, next up we've got the utility pieces. These are the vegetables of the deck. They're not the most glamorous, but they make sure the rest of the deck runs smoothly. And in a deck like this, you certainly need them. Let's have a look. We're starting with Energy Bending. This is just a simple 2-mana instant that gives all of our lands, all basic land types, until end of turn. So it fixes our mana for a turn, and it replaces itself by drawing a card. It's nothing flashy, but it is very helpful. Aang's Journey is next. This one finds us a basic land card, and we'll never need to kick it because we don't have any shrines. So we're just paying 2 mana for a basic land and 2 life. Bender's Waterskin is our version of Arcane Signet. We don't have Signet and we don't have Commander's Sphere, so this is what we've got. And honestly, it's pretty good. We can untap it every untap step, so it gives us a steady, reliable source of extra mana. It's not glamorous, but it is essential. Now, this section also just has some of the miscellaneous cards. You know, those weird utility spells that don't really fit anywhere else. Jet's Brainwashing is one of those. It can make a creature unable to block this turn, which is fine by itself, but if we kick it, we get to gain control of that creature for the turn. It's a nice little threaten effect, perfect for pushing damage or stealing something useful. Cunning Maneuver is a straightforward buff that makes a clue. Twin Blades is another non-creature spell that triggers prowess, and when it enters it auto-equips to a creature and gives it double strike. That's actually really strong on this deck because we have a lot of big temporary power boosts and things like prowess, so double strike is really relevant. Octopus Form gives a creature +1/+1, hexproof until end of turn and untaps it. Glider Staff is another solid tool. When it enters we can airbend something, and whatever it's equipped to gets +1/+1 and flying. Yip Yip, another classic combat trick. 2/2 and flying until end of turn. Sometimes it's all you need. And then we've got Enter the Avatar State, which is our big, flashy, do something cool spell. It's not a finisher, it's not even really a stabilizer, but until end of turn, a creature we control becomes an avatar, gains flying, first strike, lifelink, and hexproof. It's just a huge pile of keywords that can help us survive in a tough spot. And then finally, we have Ember Island Production, which might be one of the more interesting utility pieces here. It either makes a token copy of a creature we control, but that copy isn't legendary, meaning yes, we can make another soccer and double all of those triggers, or we can copy something powerful our opponent controls. Their decks are probably stronger than ours, let's be honest, so copying their best creature as a 2/2 is still pretty good. Of course, I've been quite limited and I've only been able to use cards from this box. And to be honest, I've been luckier in the past. I just turned a $100 booster box into a $20 commander deck. But if I had been luckier and I'd been able to branch out to some other sets and products, I would have had a few extra pieces that I would have wanted to add. Let's have a look at them. South Pole Voyager would add some great incremental life gain and card draw on any turn we can cast a non-creature spell with Soccer on board. I wish I had found this one in my box. Soccer's Charge from the Scene box is another card I'd love to bring into the deck, giving all of our allies double strike and lifelink. Speaking of Scene boxes, Appa the Vigilant would be a fun addition, giving our creature +1/+1 flying and vigilance until end of turn every time we cast a non-creature spell with Soccer in play. And to further support the ally game plan, I'd also want allied teamwork in there too, creating us yet another token on entry and giving us +1/+1. Redirect Lightning and Overwhelming Victory would be two non-creature spells I'd be dying to add. One acts as great protection for our spells and permanents, and the other is a bit like a fiery Craterhoof Behemoth. Remember, both trigger prowess and soccer as well, so that's even more damage on the table. Of course, an easy way to improve any commander deck is in the land base, and I wish I could have added a command tower or a Path of Ancestry. I mean, I did alright with the lands I had from the box, but it definitely could have been better. And please don't make me think about a Soul Ring or an Arcane Signet right now, because I would have really loved those. But there you have it, an entire commander deck built just from a booster box. Did you like the deck? How would you have improved it, and what would you have added? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, hit like. If you really liked it, do subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Bye.